So in a little bit more detail, this slide describes what will happen in the first mobilization, which we expect to occur in the April to May timeframe. That scheduling is contingent upon us receiving approvals from the Conservation Commission, because we're doing work near the river and near wetlands that fall in the Conservation Commission's jurisdictional area. The temporary sampling points will be placed along the pink lines shown in this diagram. The pink lines are running along what we estimate right now to be the center lines of the plumes. There are also some section lines that are running perpendicular to give us an idea of how wide the plumes might be. Again, just to remind folks, these colored lines are our current sort of worst case estimate of where we believe the compounds to be present in groundwater, and our intention with these temporary monitoring wells is to better refine our understanding of these plumes. So we will be collecting data not only on the extent of the compounds, but the transport pathways and also the processes that are leading to the natural attenuation. And then these data will then be used to better refine the locations of our permanent wells. Next slide, please. So the second mobilization, that is when we intend to install the permanent wells, is scheduled for in the May to June time frame. We plan to install shallow wells along the arsenic plume. That's the plume that's shown in yellow. For the chlorinated volatile organic compounds and the 1,4-dichlorobenzene plumes, we intend to install pairs of monitoring wells that are installed at shallow depths. That would be depths between 5 to 15 feet below ground surface, and also deeper depths at 15 to 25 feet below ground surface. Those well clusters will be completed in the unconsolidated material that's lying on top of the bedrock. And the reason for those is that, if you recall the sort of slice through the subsurface that I showed you before, because these compounds are heavier than water, they can migrate down. So we're interested in understanding the vertical delineation. And then in addition to the shallow and deep wells, we also intend to install a monitoring well in the bedrock. And at this is a potential location here indicated with the cross and circle. But again, I just want to emphasize that these are just approximate locations that for planning purposes, but our intention is really to adjust the locations based on the data that we get from the first mobilization. So really the diagram here is just intended to give you a feeling for the overall coverage that we hope to get with the permanent wells, but there is going to be a fair amount of adjustment based on the data from the first mobilization. Next slide, please. So after we've done our field work, the first and second mobilization, we would actually begin to implement the remedy, and that would be in the June to July time frame, that we would basically begin collecting the data from our monitoring network. And that's both chemistry data, chemistry on water quality, and then also data on groundwater flow direction. Then under the Massachusetts contingency plan, after having implemented the remedy, we're required to file a final inspection report and a phase 4 completion statement. We'll prepare those documents and then present those in draft form for public comment again. And then we would expect to have the public meeting sometime in July. And that will basically provide an update of what our monitoring system looks like once we've installed it, and then how we plan to operate it and maintain it and monitor it in the future. The operation, maintenance, and monitoring is where we actually conduct the monitored natural attenuation, and that will begin in the August timeframe, and that's under phase 5 of the Massachusetts contingency plan. So we propose to begin initially with quarterly monitoring, but we will certainly evaluate the effectiveness of our monitoring as we go along. If we do not see the expected decline in plume concentrations and a shrinkage in the extent of the plumes, then we would evaluate revisions to our remedy. These revisions might be as simple as changing the monitoring frequency or changing the parameters, or they could be more complicated revisions depending on the data that we collect. In addition, under the Massachusetts contingency plan, we're required to provide to the state a semi-annual reports that provide our monitoring data that we're collecting. And also we would be required to indicate if we're making any revisions to our proposed remedy. That's basically it. Any questions on that section of the presentation? Okay. So now I guess we're just up for some closing remarks.
Okay. Closing remarks, please, Mark. Okay, in summary, what we talked about this evening was we talked about some of our recent activities, the current site conditions. We talked about our draft phase 4 design, construction, and reporting document that is currently out for public comment. We're going to have the phase 5 operational maintenance monitoring will be implemented in about August. We're going to have that out for public comment approximately July. Next steps are to get the public input on this particular draft document. Once those comments are received, we'll prepare the final version and submit it to the DEP. And then once we get approval from the Conservation Commission to access certain areas near wetlands and riverfront areas, we will implement phase 4 construction with our geoprobe lines and to be followed with our permanent well installations. And so we would like to have comments back by March 19th. You can send those or to Kim in Westford if you'd like. And that concludes tonight's presentation. Dina, unless you have any further comments.
Yes, I'd just like to remind everybody that we do appreciate any comments from the community. So if there's any feedback that you'd like to provide on the direction that we're headed, we're happy to review those comments and incorporate those into our plan. We also want to remind people that the next public meeting is tentatively scheduled for the July timeframe. You'll also have a chance to discuss both the progress on the groundwater remedy, but also the next steps that we'll be presenting at that time. So we're happy to see the project moving forward to what we consider more of a completion phase, where we're kind of tidying up the last few things and seeing some progress on the groundwater remedy. So it's been a long haul, but we're happy about the progress and continuing to move forward.
Thank you.